Welcome back to the Combo Couch. Can you hear us, everybody? Fam, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, fam.
Can you hear me?
Yes, fam.
Okay, well, I didn't get a chance to share anything because I didn't know you started the stream.
Well, share it now. Share it now. You said I would send it. I put it in the doc.
You said you would send it.
What does that mean?
It means sending it via email.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
You're so dumb sometimes.
Fam?
You just make me look like a fool. It's been in the doc the whole time.
You said you would send it.
I don't know what that means. I sent it in the doc. You have the doc. All right. Guys, let me hear if you're on Rockfin. Hello, is anybody there? I want to see the chat going. I don't see anybody in the chat. Please in the Rockfin chat. Let's go over there. I can see us on YouTube. What is going on the channel? Is there still ones? All right, so that one's live. Are you serious? Oh, geez.
What's going on?
All right, and this one is... I'm just having problems right now with the YouTube stuff because the YouTube has really made it very confusing. Very, very confusing and stupid, and it's not accepting my shit. And it's really just pissing me off. So...
It seems to be working.
Now, but no, it says 37 watching. 30. Which one are you watching, guys?
There's only one. Oh, there's two of them right now?
Yeah, it's still like the other one's not getting... That's upcoming or something. Upcoming. There's a bunch of them like... All right, guys, we're working through some technical difficulties over here.
Oh my God, there's so many.
I know. This is so stupid right now. This is so dumb. All right, so this one is right here. This is the one.
Yeah, this is the right one. But can you
This is the one right here. Can there be unity between Marxist and MAGA with the cool thing there? We're cool on you on whatchamacallit. Ciao, Maria Renali. Brilliant, wonderful. How you doing, Saul Construct? Hi, I'm here too. We love you, Saul. Cam Schwari, Kate fam, John Little, not John Big, but John Little's here in the Combo Couch, also signed in over there. We are also on Rumble now. Let me go share this stream. Guys, do us a favor. Hit the like button, hit the share button, do all those beautiful things. I really do apologize with the issues from YouTube today.
Can you guys just share like the one that's the right one?
That has the thumbnail. Let me see if I can.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can
it says everything is
live right now. So let's see. Okay.
There's two live. Whatever that one is. Let's see. Yeah, we're live on two broadcasts? That's impossible, right?
No, it's not.
It's possible to be live on two
simultaneous. Yep.
On YouTube?
Yep. All right, so this one, and this one. They're all going into the delete bucket. If I can find the delete bucket, that's where they're going.
This is what happens when Oz isn't around.
Oz is around. He's just helping me. That one is deleted forever. Okay. No. Okay. Still alive. Delete forever. All right now. So, let's see now. Let's go check it, fam. This is the one right here, right now. We are live on this one and this one only. So now that you got, if you're on this YouTube, there goes this YouTube number up. All right, we got that straightened out of the way. The thumbnail's there, fam. The cool thumbnail that Oz made. Did you see it?
Yes.
What did you guys think about that? It was a bunch of Marxists wearing "Make America Great Again" hats on. I mean, that is a genius thumbnail done in less than like 15 minutes by Oz Lind. We love him. He's amazing. But fam, I told him, I said, give me a MAGA hat with like a couple Marxists next to them or something. And he was like, all right.
He put Marx and Lenin.
Yes.
In the, yeah.
Yes.
Not just a couple Marxists, it's Marx and Lenin.
Yes. But they're all wearing
the thumbnail still does that shit. I hate that.
Yeah, that once again, like I said, YouTube has really made their shit confusing, but I'm gonna figure it all out tonight. I'm gonna have all our graphics in there. Fam, did you like the way I got the intro in? I went and I took it off another video and I played it. So we had it. That's how smart and crafty I am. Guys, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna take the link to Rumble and I'm gonna place it inside of YouTube. And I want you guys to do me a favor. I want you to share it as well as the YouTube. I'm going to also place it in Xeroxfin. We've already got some super rays coming in, fam. It's really, really nice because we are getting ready to go to Brazil. And boy, is it pricey.
Yeah.
But hopefully I made some connections to help us out over the weekend, fam, with my event. In fact, can I actually, should we talk about my event first while people are matriculating in or trickling in?
Yeah.
By the way, somebody tried to correct me, my friend Fred Edward, about the word matriculate. It means to like enroll in college and stuff. But
it does.
I know, but ESPN used it as moving forward. Like there they are matriculating the puck up the ice. Is what
ESPN?
ESPN used it for a while.
Fam.
They would say, what?
ESPN.
Yeah.
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 ESPN knows about sports, but
yeah,
they don't know about English grammar.
Fam, that's Disney.
So I'm just saying.
They're owned by Disney. They know what they're doing.
Fam,
they know what they're doing. They're Disney.
Trickling. Okay. I think you mean trickling on it. Trickling.
I'm telling you, they use the term matriculating. You know,
I'm sure they did. That doesn't mean that it's the right term.
But it's been used. The precedence has been set. I saw it on the TV, so it has to be true.
Jesus Christ.
All right, fam. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring this up really quick. Let me, why does it every single freaking time? Oh, yeah. So, fam, this picture right here that I'm going to bring up right now is as an election integrity activist. Holy
shit. Is that you aligning with fascists right there?
No, because this was the let me get this straight here.
You're kidding. Fam. Obviously.
Fam. You're being harsh.
I'm in a mood, fam.
I obviously. So right here it says this picture is an election integrity activist dream, fam, right there. Simply
you said that?
Yeah, it says this picture is an election integrity activist dream from left to right. Now, the first one person is the person I got to meet. We finally haven't met in person. I other than Tim Canova, that was the first time meeting these guys. I had never spoken or communicated with Phil Evans. I had used his science quite a bit. I have talked about him, and I put right there, you can see it as plain as day. This is an election integrity activist dream from left to right. The person all the way to the left, his name is Phil Evans. He is the godfather
Mhm.
of pattern analysis, fam. He had a 15-minute presentation where he brought out graphs. And it was so genius because he started talking about Ron Paul, who got screwed, and showing the graphs in Ron Paul. Then he showed Bernie Sanders, a lot of Bernie Sanders. Then he went and showed graphs of algorithms of mathematical weirdness, right? Um, and when he showed it, he he showed all the Trump candidates, 3 or 4 Trump candidates that got screwed, that had the same matching algorithms that happened to Ron Paul, that happened to Bernie Sanders, and he had a lot of Bernie Sanders ones, fam. In fact, I think we're going to bring Phil Evans in for a little lessons again on Bernie Sanders and explain it. But he talks about pattern analysis. And we also talk about when an election is called with 60% in, is that they have a pattern of voting, which they know that the person who's trailing cannot catch up to the person who's winning. So therefore, they feel
Mhm.
confident in announcing that particular race. But when he showed this pattern analysis, and a lot of this pattern analysis has to do with what the guy to my left, stage right, if you're looking at it, Benny Smith, the man with the red tie between me and Tim Canova, talks about, it's that they plant these features. It's a feature, not a bug. It's in there by design, this weighted mechanism. And the more votes come in, the more the mechanism works. It can't work in the beginning because you need to have the way the algorithm works, fam, and the mechanism is set is that the more the votes come in, the more it expands. So the further
Mhm.
away the person who's supposed to go higher goes higher, and the person who's supposed to go lower goes lower, because you need a decent amount of votes in there to have that algorithm take place. But as a pattern analysis person, it's an easy way to figure it out right away. Benny Smith, he coined the phrase fraction magic, and it was so awesome to see him on stage going. He goes, back in the days, I got a hold of the software with Bev Harris, who's known as the GOAT. She's handed over Black Box uh, organization to Benny. Benny owns Black Box now. He's running that site. Bev Harris, who was known as the GOAT, one of the most revered, loved election integrity activist for quite some time, and gave it to Benny. Benny had talked about it. He goes, I believe you guys called it Hammer and Scorecard. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, who here has heard of Fraction Magic? Like 4 people put their hand up. And I'm like, oh, you know? And, Benny mentions he did a great video with us on Fraction Magic. Said it was one of his favorite videos he's done because we asked all the right questions for him because we do our homework. And he was like, he went back and watched it. It was almost a year ago. But he explained to everybody when it came into place. Clint Curtis, who was not in this picture, but I did get a picture of Clint Curtis. He said to say hi, fam. And Clint is definitely like, a hardcore Democrat, hated Donald Trump, did not like it. But he got up there and he explained about how he was approached about this flipping mechanism. And then Tim Canova, who brought it on home, who got to explain the story about what's going on as far as challenging and looking for the ballots, looking at the ballots, requesting to look at the ballots. He pretty much exposed Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Brenda Snipes. The fact that Brenda Snipes is not sitting in a jail right now for election fraud, for destroying ballots, is beyond my mind. But Ron DeSantis, as we like to mention, because we didn't want to leave him out, went after 20 felons who did not yet realize that they can vote yet. And he's going to go after them rather than go after Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And during an event, he was asked by Lara Logan, who was one of the moderator of the whole thing. He was asked, "What about going back to Han County?" And he said, "We don't want to go back to the Stone Age." So that was the event of the weekend, fam. I got to go up there and tell people what I experienced. I say they don't have this stuff in Honduras, Peru, Nicaragua, Colombia. I said, I even had my sheet that had the 6 principles of elections. I can bring that up. But I handed them out. My mom was there to help if people didn't get one. It was a great crowd, a great weekend. And just to have us there, those 4 right there, you can throw Clint Curtis in that picture. But it just set the tone for this isn't a Republican MAGA event. In fact, somebody tweeted, I bet you there's a bunch of racists just talking about elections today. And then somebody puts up a picture of the first panel, and 3 of the 5 first panel that were candidates from South Carolina, they were all black. That person took down that tweet after somebody replied. I guess that's once again, here are the black white supremacists that they like to call Larry Elder and all these other people, and saying like, these are the black white supremacists. Okay, here we go again. But it was just an amazing event, fam. I really, it was awesome to be on a stage where it's my wheelhouse. I have all this knowledge, and as questions were coming in or people on the stage, and sure enough, fam, what did I tell you about this whole cameras on the goddamn drop boxes? The guy who was on stage with us in the solutions panels said that we should start like he was encouraging people to like camp out in front of drop boxes. Don't break the law, but just go watch them and maybe have some cameras and film stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, so you're encouraging people to spy on their neighbors. That's exactly what we wanted to avoid. This is what we had talked about. And I said the election Overton window, fam, has moved so far that people are fighting for cameras on drop boxes rather than the elimination of drop boxes altogether. They're not in Nicaragua. They're not in Peru. They're not in Honduras. They're not in Mexico. They're not in Colombia. They're not anywhere. They need to go. So let's not, and then one of the ladies asked, fam, she said, well, I'm suggesting to tell people to switch to nonpartisan or independent. So therefore you won't get kicked out of the room on election day and they won't avoid you and whatnot. And I said, don't do that. Once again, these people work for us. We don't work for them. They're not allowed to do that in Nicaragua, in Colombia, especially in Nicaragua. We went and searched the badge. It's like you have a Democrat, a Republican, a Green, a Libertarian. They need to get back to that. If you're a Republican, you register as a Republican. And if they don't allow you to volunteer, then you let it be known. You tell the organizations. And there was organizations signing people up there to do the work. It seemed like, fam, they're in a two crowds. There's one crowd that concentrates highly on what's going on and how you work around it, and another crowd that's saying, no, we need to get back to proper standards. Unfortunately, there has to be a little bit of both. How do we work in the system right now, and how do we work towards a system that we need, in which we witness clean, fair, transparent elections in just one day with results that night?
Great. Well, I'm glad you went to actually talk to people
A lot of
that think differently than you, and you actually went on the ground and did that and didn't just speak out of your ass. So I'm glad that you were able to do that. Now, because this is going to lead us into what we're going to talk about, right? It's important. A lot of MAGA there, a lot of MAGA feel cheated by the system, right? They feel like the elections were not fair, right? Just like Bernie supporters felt the same way and multiple times now. And like Democrats long felt that way. We could go back to George W. Bush and Gore and that whole situation. We can go back to anywhere, any election in the last 20, 30 or so years, I would say, where the election system hasn't been fair, right? It's been at least questionable. Now, because of this, there's a lot of intersecting, right? When we talk about the system crushing everybody, because the system is crushing everybody, whether you're a MAGA, whether you're a Marxist, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Socialist, whatever the hell you want to call yourself. The system is still crushing all of us, right? But there's a reality we're living in. The current reality in the United States is that, and you can speak on this, MAGA blame communism, socialism for their problems. They despise the idea of Marxism. Do they know what Marxism actually is? No, most of the time they don't. Even people who call themselves Marxists don't even know what it is, clearly, because a lot of people who call themselves that are completely just not that. So people don't even know what the definition is, and yet they're calling themselves that, or they're hating somebody who calls themselves that. It's a fucking mess. So when you make statements that are very broad and edgy and just like generic to sort of get a rise out of people or to get people to start thinking about something, it can create a lot of problems because it oversimplifies what we're talking about here, because there's nuance is dead in the US. Like, people don't like to have nuanced discussions about things. They especially on Twitter, where it's like so easy to like tweet something that's controversial and then everybody's like, oh wow, either for or against it. There's no nuance to the discussion, right? So we've been having this whole one end of the spectrum on the left say things like we can unite Marxists with MAGA. We need to unite Marxists with MAGA. Then you have the other end of the spectrum that's like on the left still, the quote unquote left. Oh, you can't do that. You're wanting to align with fascists, and that's just uncalled for, right? And the problem with those things that are being said is there's no nuance to it, because what do they even mean by that? So when you were at this election panel, how did the people that you were surrounded by, not just MAGA, because you could even go as far as Tim Canova, who's not a fan of Marxism, right? But how did a lot of the people surrounding you feel about socialism or Marxism?
I think it was mentioned maybe 12 times throughout the day about how negative and bad Marxism is. About the end of the day, like I said, there are two major boogeymans when it comes to the MAGA movement. Number one, it's any form of Marxism, whether it be communism, socialism. I would hear that's communism, not socialism. You know what I'm saying? I'd hear that throughout the day, called Marxism. You'd hear that quite often. The other second boogeyman is obviously China, right? But no, because that's another one of their boogeymen. I'm not going to let that shit slide, and that's where I strongly disagree. But they are not fond of Marxism. You know what I'm saying? And I've had many talks with Mark Fincham, about when it comes to elections, and I kind of encourage him. I said one day you got to go down to Nicaragua, Mark. I don't think he'll ever do it. I don't know. We never got into it, but he's always open to understanding and listening to what's going on and what I have to say. But clearly, at the end of the day, staying away from Secretary Fincham to be mostly everybody, their number one boogeyman is Marxism. And when we talk about it, it's not even like, it's campus Marxism, right? It's cultural Marxism. That's what they believe Marxism to be, about bringing up all these identity politics and social issues that are going to further divide us. And that's why I always say, hey, when I go down to Nicaragua, I experience these people who are very, socially conservative. They are very religious. They're all Christians, a form of Christianity, mostly Catholics a lot, but there's a lot of religion down there. They want Sundays off. They're strong in the family. They don't believe in gay marriage. They don't believe in abortion. Trans issues are pretty much off the map right now. There might be some people able to talk about, for the most part, a family member. They're like, what are you talking about? In Nicaragua. So when you say those things, people are like, really? It's like, yeah. So they don't understand exactly what Marxism is. But even if you explain that, fam, it's still it's still a form of socialism. It's a form of communism. It means less control for the person, more control for the government. And that's exactly what they don't want.
Right. And just to clarify what Paz said about Nicaragua, the religion there is the Sandinistas push is actually not Catholicism. It's like the alternative to Catholicism, because the Catholic Church has been very pro regime change, and that's kind of like an issue they've been having ongoing. But yeah, he's right. Absolutely. They're more socially conservative. And they're definitely not talking about a lot of these issues, because from the perspective of the West, these issues seem very privileged, right? Because people there are trying to get their economic situations met first, which I think we should be doing here in the United States. That should be the focus. But instead, there's a lot of this, what the right has labeled woke, what the left has labeled, social justice issues, whatever the case may be. Now, I do think these two movements are an echo of the Democrats and the Republicans. And I'll explain what that means. So first I want to read Pasta's tweet, because Pasta tweeted this, and I want to ask you why you tweeted this, but I'll just read it. More than 50% of people either claiming to be a Marxist or screaming about Marxism know nothing about Marxism. When I attend an election integrity or anti-mandate event, MAGA constantly curses Marxism as if it's the major problem. To think there is a bond between the two is wrong. Why did you tweet this? And if there's not a bond between the two, how can the two work together economically?
Well, I strongly believe that labels divide us and it's issues that bring us together. And I didn't want to throw shade at the person, who who's been, pushing this Marxist MAGA kind of unity. I really thought it was just irresponsible as a tweet that it's going to be used to further weaponize us. And it's just theoretically untrue. I've been to plenty of, anti-mandate events. We've been to Save the Children once or twice before. Another pro, MAGA event, very heavily influenced by MAGA. It's not true whatsoever. And it really just creates more confusion and more areas in which the ruling class can then weaponize the situation and further divide us.
Right, because what's happening is the establishment is already saying that the fringe left, right, like the dirtbag left, the fringe left, the whatever is is uniting with fascists and wants is full of anti-vaxxers, and they're basically just Trumpers in disguise. That's already a narrative that they're using against us. Nobody's saying we shouldn't align with workers across all ideologies. I think that's the main point I want to get across. I am for uniting workers, whether they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, so whatever, regardless of what they label themselves. There is no problem uniting the people based on an economic need. An example that I've been using to get this message across is the fact that in the Czech Republic, the Communist Party of the Czech Republic literally organized an event with the far right party of the Czech Republic. And the event was specifically issue-based in opposition to NATO. It was in opposition to the sanctions against Russia because it's hurting them, it's hurting their economy, it's hurting the economy of the EU in general, and they're going to be facing a cold winter with a shortage of the supplies of gas. People are already losing so much money trying to warm their houses, trying to use energy. There's a massive energy crisis, right? So that is unity based on what? It's based on an issue. It's based on economics. It's not based on we're gonna ideologically become closer together and build some sort of weird mesh of Marxist Trumpers and call it something else and just create yet another isolated clan of people that isn't really dealing with this reality at hand. That's different. It's two completely different things, and I don't think people are understanding the difference of that. So when you say Marxist and MAGA are uniting or they should unite, I think what you want to say is we should unite the working class together across all ideologies. But when you just say Marxists and MAGA are uniting and they're doing this, they're not uniting at all, because ideologically, based on ideology, they're diametrically opposed. Based on economics, yes, we are all being crushed by the system, but you're never going to get two diametrically opposed ideologies to unite on ideology alone. Yeah. They literally hate each other.
They literally hate each other. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing, the avenue I go out. And by the way, I'd like to just put up my really quick tweet over there. I think it's best that we concentrate on uniting the working class around common issues, human necessities, and fighting back against a predator class. We should most definitely stay clear of using labels that will only be weaponized to further divide us. Think humans over isms. And I know you like that last part, fam. I did that for you. I was like, cha-ching! That's a basket, fam. You see, bloop. And I don't even know where I was going. I was going to say something. We were talking about what were we talking about before I cut you off?
Well, maybe think about it and remember. I just want to say real quick.
God.
I obviously believe in the ideology of communism. I also believe a little bit of decentralization, which is why there are elements of anarchism that I agree with, right? Yeah. That doesn't mean that I'm against working with MAGA. In fact, Pasa and I have talked to people on the Republican side for a very long time, for 5 years. One, because during Bernie's first run, Bernie Sanders was actually the one advocating to go to talk to conservatives, and that's why he got a lot of the vote in the South and the Midwest. And then that vote, of course, went to Donald Trump instead of Clinton because he was advocating against NAFTA and the TPP, whereas Clinton was advocating for it. And he was talking to the forgotten white working class because the forgotten white working class has been completely just ignored by the Democratic Party in favor of the liberal yuppie elite or the more wealthier classes. And this is why the Republican Party has gained a lot of that. And Trump came in and swept with that after Bernie was quote unquote cheated. And so that is something that we've always noted. We've been talking about this for a long time. This is nothing new. Advocating aligning people across the working class. We've talked to people in the election integrity community and the election community trying to go to Latin America, bring back, as Pasta has done, the knowledge and basically tell them our elections are shit. And the countries that you guys say, you know, are a bunch of communist and socialist countries actually have better election systems than we do. We've been doing that. When it comes to COVID, we were among the first people to talk about the fact that this wasn't a right-wing trope, that the narrative around COVID was definitely lacking any sort of consistency, that it wasn't valid. We've been talking about, you know, not just being anti-mandic, but also everything else surrounding that, right? And I'm obviously going to watch what I'm saying right now, but everything else surrounding that, we can go back and to the Medicare for All March situation in LA, where Pasta was supposed to be emceeing and he wasn't allowed to because he refused to go get a boop boop or a test or all that stuff that they kept asking him to do, where they weren't asking everybody else to do it. And it was just bullshit. And so this is nothing new. We've been talking about this before it was cool, before it was popular. And the reason I'm saying all this is because I feel like some people act like this is new. And no, we should be talking to people we disagree with all the time. We do it all the time. We were at the Capitol on January 6th, talking to these people, and they were definitely concerned about the election. And I don't think that, you know, MAGA are all a bunch of fascists. I definitely think it was wrong that Ashley Babbitt was shot. I think that's absolutely ridiculous that she was shot and people were cheering for that. I think that calling it an insurrection is bullshit. It wasn't an attempted coup, especially coming from the US and the State Department that know what a fucking coup is. But that doesn't mean that these people, MAGA or Marxists, are going to automatically forget their ideology and come together just and create a whole new ideology. It's just not going to happen. You're rebranding it into whatever it already you're rebranding something that already exists. And the reality is, what we need to focus on is, as Pasta's saying, the connections across economics, regardless of what people call themselves, because we're at a point right now where we don't have a democracy, we don't have a republic. We're literally basically almost towards fascism. So it's a waste of time to be arguing that about what's if I'm a Marxist and you're a socialist and you're this and that, because we're all being crushed by the system, and we're not going to have a chance to even debate that or have a multi-party system if we don't stop what's happening right now. And that's what people need to understand. And creating this just creates a whole other thing of confusion, as Pasta just said.
Yeah. It's like I said, I think it's a little irresponsible because it's going to be further used to weaponize, for weaponization to pit people against each other, not bring people together. And what I was going to say is that I also got a chance to talk at this event and talk about why I do what I do. Is because I believe in national sovereignty, that the people of Brazil, the people of Nicaragua, the people of Honduras, everywhere we went, they have a right to choose their own leader. This is something that Terry Matson talks about a lot, national sovereignty. It's the number one thing people are seeking for their country. They want to have a right to decide what happens with their country, their resources, without the West telling them what to do. And as I go to this type of event, I can say they're fighting for national sovereignty. And guess why you guys are here? You're fighting for national sovereignty. You're fighting for the right for you people in this room to collectively say what goes on in our country, who our leaders should be, and what direction we should drive the bus. Now, you're going to disagree with your fellow citizens, and that's where this process takes place. but the right to our national sovereignty means more than anything. Now that they're in a position where they see that their national sovereignty for we the people has been taken away, they'll be more understanding and kind and probably more open to listening to what goes down in the global south rather than just listening to these people going, oh, they're socialist, they're Marxist, they're communist. That's my Ted Cruz. I don't know how good that is. But instead of just listening to the scuttlebutt, they'll realize that they have so much more in common with these people. Also, when they realize why the empire is down there. The empire is down in the global south for control, for resource extraction, for forcing the monetary system on people. So then they understand that, wait a second, we're being duped because these elites want those resources. These elites want their monetary system in that country, and the elites are screwing us at home, the predator class. They can make that connection together, and maybe in the future we have an actual chance rather than this group of people going around manufacturing consent to go in and get involved via regime change, military action, funding other groups like the Catholic Church in Nicaragua, funding the Contras in Nicaragua years ago, funding gangs in Honduras. You know what I'm saying? They'll, you know what I'm saying? They'll realize what's going on. And also, last I want to say, fam, too, as well, instead of saying Marxist and MAGA have to unite, right? I always say, well, the part of like 50% of the Marxists, that people who call themselves Marxists, don't understand what Marxism is. They really don't. Remember when they were saying people from Black Lives Matter was a Marxist group, Laura Ingraham? Like, you can go out to that Black Lives Matter march and you ask most people about Marxism, they don't know. They're out there because they're fighting because they see so many homeless people out there, that they see their wages being stripped for them, that they see the cops coming in and treating them like animals and shooting them on the spot, that they've overreached, that now they're taking their military from overseas and bringing it home and using it against them. They don't know about ideology and what's going on. What Marxists want, most of them in this country, is what Lula has been offering: a roof over their head, 2 meals a day, a good cup of coffee, and labor rights. Most people who call themselves Marxists in this country are just anti-capitalists that want to see labor rights and people have a decent wage so they can live. That's the main reason why people matriculate or move towards Marxism, right, fam? What is it? Seize the means. And people of capitalism, the MAGA people that I talk to when I speak to them, it's not that they want unfeathered capitalism running all over the place because they want to enrich themselves. They equate capitalism to choices right, away from the government. Oh, with socialism, you have to have this healthcare and do this. I want to make my choice. With socialism, I have to send my kids to this school. I want to make my choice. You know what I'm saying? That's what they want. So instead of saying let's combine Marxist with MAGA, why don't we say we merge people who are fighting for free labor and people who are fighting for choices without an oppressive, overreaching government? That is something we can get back together. Like I say, labels divide us, issues unite us. Let's stay focused over here and not be distracted by this bad noise. And that's what it is. It's divisive at the end of the day. Even though you think about building a coalition, you're finding more ways to be weaponized, for them to weaponize, to separate us. And that's the truth. And that's why I made these tweets.
And I think it's happening on the other end of the spectrum with people like Ben Norton also calling everybody that you know, like the workers of the truckers fascists, you know, people like quickly just labeling everybody a fascist, which is in turn causing other people to be like, oh, you're this and that, and there's just back and forth. But at the end of the day, it's just egos arguing with each other. It's not the solution-based thing we need, because at the end of the day, both of these people call themselves Marxists, right? You got Jackson calling himself a Marxist. You got Ben Norton calling himself a Marxist. What the hell is going on here? Are like, one of you is either wrong or one of you is either right, or maybe you're both wrong. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But at the end of the day, the reality is I feel like we're more divided basing on if this person's a Marxist or not. Because again, the definition of a US Marxist is different than what a Marxist is in Latin America. 100% entirely different. Just like the definition of what is left in the United States, it's completely different. Or people would say it doesn't exist really compared to what it is in Latin America. And so I do agree it's irresponsible of making blanket statements like that. Obviously you can make them. I mean, I believe in freedom of speech, and I believe in everything. You can say whatever the hell you want, but people are going to respond to it. And I believe the responses are both just completely, are all lacking nuance. I think I wanted to show a tweet. Let's see if I have, you showed both of your tweets, right? I wanted to show my tweet as well, if you can pull that one up.
Did you put it in the private chat? And I will pull it on.
Oh, in the private chat? Okay, it's in the folder.
Oh, it's in the folder? Cool, I can do that too. Where'd you put it? Fiorella's? Gotcha.
Yeah.
We're staying in order, right? My bad, fam. My bad. Look.
It's the kind of shit I deal with.
Somebody who is a Marxist can definitely merge or unite or build a movement with a MAGA person. That's not what we're saying. That we're saying is that unite around the issue. Because if you try to unite around the ideology, you're just going to run into a freaking brick wall, and then your movement's going to get spanked.
Or you're just going to abandon. Whether you're either going to abandon one or the other. Yeah. You're either going to abandon Marxism or you're going to abandon the capitalist MAGA ideology. So there's no way you can't. Those two it's diametrically opposed ideologies. Well, not entirely. I mean, I think that the more opposition would be fascism or something, but. It's a right-wing ideology versus a left-wing ideology. Okay, so again, just to drive the point across, right? We should work with the entire working class. That is how we get anything done. Like, absolutely, this bread and round alliance pasta advocates, I agree with it, right? The bullshit smears that we get, and we talked about this on Revolutionary Blackout when I was with Misty and Nick and Sabby. And we were all talking about this, and we were all talking about how we can come together. And Lucy had an idea, and we all had different ideas, but we were talking about how getting this thing done across ideology, right? That we weren't going to go around with the checklist and be like, Trump, did you vote for Trump? Then you're out. Did you vote for Hillary? Then it was just, we were all going to go across lines. But that's the difference between using labels to create bonds where none exist. Focusing on economics before that we're all victims of the system is key before we can debate ideology, meaning lead with economics rather than ideology. Because even if you have good intentions, when you lead with ideology, you're not leading with the reality of what we're living here. Because I have my own ideology. I'm not going to change my moral ideology at all. I'm not going to suddenly become MAGA because I'm working and organizing an event against NATO. It's not going to happen. But if I'm trying to merge my ideology with a different one, then I would be changing it. So I think I wanted to point out Reverend Annie Chambers, right? Because this is important when we're talking about the Black Panther Party. People are sort of mixing things up here. The Black Panther Party and people like Reverend Annie, literally, she worked to organize with a Klans member to shut down the street in Vegas because they were trying to get an issue done. That doesn't mean that she suddenly, Reverend Annie, who was Black, became a KKK member or that the KKK member suddenly became a Black Panther. But that they were focused on the issue. That doesn't mean that she was aligning with fascists. It doesn't mean that she invited them to a barbecue and they became best friends. It just means that there are instances when these things happen. Of course, ideally, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go up to a KKK member or whatever. And I don't believe MAGAs are a KKK equivalent either. And because these people are always like, oh, Fiorella and Pasta want to align with fascists. They're red-brown alliance and blah, blah, blah. That's all bullshit. We're telling people that to focus on economics because class is an issue right now. We are all workers and we're all being crushed by the system. And it's as simple as that. So, anything else, fam? I think I have enough.
Somebody just texted me before. That's why I lost my chain of thought. They're like, oh, RBN's doing the same show with the same title, just a different thumbnail. So I'm like, why don't we just send them a stream link and have a conversation about this?
Yeah. That's funny.
We should. But here's your Here's your other tweet, and this is awesome too. Capitalism is an ideology; it doesn't create wealth. Working people do. These are basic concepts to the idea that socialism spreads the wealth capitalism creates.
Right. Capitalism is an ideology.
Creates.
Okay, so Pasta, I just can you click on the thread, because I want to point out a couple things here.
Can. Yeah, sure I can.
What?
Fam, I can do whatever you want.
Fam. All right, so capitalism is an economic system, right, behind the ideology. So socialism is what advocates the spread of wealth that workers create. Because guys, I don't care if you prefer capitalism or socialism. Let's be real here. Let's define things by what they are. Okay? Because it's a system. Capitalism without workers, socialism without workers doesn't create any wealth. You need workers to create wealth. You need people. I mean, right now, right? Eventually we'll have robots doing a lot of work, but then you still need people to manage the robots. You need some sort of intelligence behind that to do it. You still need some sort of workers. But right now, up until, some industries, we have workers that create wealth. The difference is socialism wants to spread, the workers own the means of production when it comes to socialism. That this idea that, workers, for example, have a piece of the pie. Capitalism, you have the business class that employs workers who generate the wealth, and then the workers only get a certain amount, and the business class gets more. And whoever maximizes profits ends up making the most money, which is, of course, causes competition. And a lot of people like that. They're like, well, we want competition because they say competition breeds creativity. And the socialists say that type of competition creates exploitation and then stunts creativity. So these two systems are opposed. Yeah. Okay. And then the socialist system has a lot of reliance on, depending on what type, right? Depending on if you have market socialism, if you have other types of socialism, where the fear of the right is that socialism has big government. Like they don't want, the government to control all of this. Whereas private companies and private entities control things when it comes to capitalism. So that's essentially, but, socialists argue that the workers own the means of production, not necessarily the government. The government is made by the people for the people. So those are the two systems. So whatever system you prefer, I would like us to not be like PragerU and lie. Because if you want to criticize socialism, or if you want to criticize capitalism, let's do it from understanding what these things are. Because if you don't understand what things are, then you're having an argument based on concepts that aren't even valid. And then that just destroys any sort of argument that you're having. Because it's just like, okay, then what are we arguing about here? We're arguing about things that don't even exist. We need to understand what these things are. You can't just argue on things based on things that you don't understand. And that's my issue a lot of the times with when I see the right calling Biden and Kamala Harris Marxist, or when AOC represents what a Marxist is. It's really frustrating because it's just yeah, well, if that's what you think Marxism is, yeah, well then I hate it too, because it's neoliberalism. And so yeah, that was just my point, is we need to really understand, when I quote tweet PragerU, I'm not doing it by saying, oh, you're a bunch of right-wing fascists and blah blah blah. I'm just simply saying your definition is wrong, or what you're saying is wrong, because workers make wealth. No system itself makes wealth. Workers are the ones that make wealth. And then, of course, how you manage those workers is what differs in the two systems. That's the difference. So I think it's important that we really understand what we're arguing about here. Bam.
Is that it for that? Do you want to read this part too as well?
I pretty much said it.
Yeah, you pretty much said that. So we'll jump on out of there and stuff. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Come on in. We're talking about this whole debate between MAGA and Marxist. Can there be unity between the two? Fia said before, they're two are diametrically opposed to each other. I've been around a lot of MAGA events over the last couple of years because of COVID protocols, because of election integrity. And I can tell you this much, that boogeyman in the room is communism, socialism, Marxism for them. followed by a close China. China is second place.
China.
Which once again I disagree with both, and I try to say let's figure out what is most what's going on. What do people want? What do the Marxists who call themselves Marxists in this country? What do they really want? Fam, do you agree with me or do you disagree with the when I say the majority of the Marxists, the people who call themselves Marxists in the country, their number one fight is about free, I don't know, fair wages, and housing and healthcare. Taking care of the poor, taking care of the working class, benefits for the working class. Would that be a right statement when I say that that is what the main thing a lot of Marxists, or people who identify themselves as Marxists call themselves? Why they call them that is because of labor?
I would say it's because of labor to an extent in the US, but I would say most people in the US who call themselves Marxists are liberals. And so I think they focus more on the social Marxism rather than actual economics in the US. I think most people in Latin America who call themselves Marxists are definitely worker focused, economic focused. They're focused on really opposing imperialism a lot because that's a very big subject in the global South, particularly in Latin America for obvious reasons. But I think in the United States, it's hard to say because a lot of people who think they're Marxists, I think, are actually more like liberals who just want workers' rights and social justice issues like abortion and trans rights and LGBTQ issues, which, by the way, I'm not saying aren't important, depending on, I understand how people, what if you're of the category, of course, it's going to be an important issue to you. I'm simply saying it's not an economic issue that people in the global South have the luxury of pursuing because they're too busy trying to get a roof over their head. Okay. And we've done numerous delegations and we've gone into the global South to know what these people who from the FSLN, the Sandinistas, from the people who support Manuel and Zelaya and Castro, right? And who support Petro, what they want. They want workers' rights. They want sovereignty. They want an end to U.S. hegemony. They simply want a fair shake at the system. They want to be able to have water, electricity, basic needs that we take for granted in the United States, that the United States is losing really quickly now. I mean, we've talked about Jackson, Mississippi. We've seen the subway. We've seen the crumbling infrastructure that Bernie Sanders always loves to talk about. We've seen all of these things happening in the United States. Maybe the United States should take some notes from the global South and focus, the people who call themselves Marxists, maybe focus a little bit more on the economic issues, right? Instead of the wedge issues that are there to divide us, like the gun rights issue, like the abortion issue, and like the surgery on 17-year-olds who want to transition issue. Both the right and the left focus on those issues that affect such a small percentage of the population compared to the bigger issues that affect all the economics. And this is why we're divided, because we just literally allow that to happen. So Margaret Kimberly, who I really do like a lot of her work. We've been around her on delegations and such. She's been to Nicaragua. She's been, to all of these places that we're talking about. I agree with her on some of this stuff, but I also think there's more to be said on some other stuff, right? So she said, uniting Marxists and MAGA, coalitions can work, but they must have some degree of shared politics. What, if anything, do the two groups mentioned here have in common? Also, what are globalists? They are capitalists, and any effort against them must be called anti-capitalist. Okay,
so I don't agree with that last one. Sorry.
I was going to say, I agree with the first part. Yeah. The second part, I think there's more to explore. So I do think we can have coalitions, but there should be a shared amount of politics if you're trying to align them ideologically, right? But when it comes to economics, you can again, like we just saw in the Czech Republic, like we've been seeing all over the anti-vax, anti-mandate movement, where people literally there was a bunch of leftists that attended these events, yet there were some anti-communist flags at the events as well, where there was this whole group of people that were against mandates on the left and the right. You can see that it can be an issue-based thing if it's infringing on your rights or if it's an economic issue, right? So that can exist. Now, the second part, globalists. Are globalists capitalists? I agree that globalists are capitalists, but there are a lot of people who are not globalists, who hate globalists, who are capitalists. And they simply think a group of elites is controlling things, and they still believe in capitalism, but they're anti-globalist, meaning they want to have more of like a national sovereignty of their own,
Yeah.
like what their own living. For example, Russia is a capitalist country. Russia is seemingly anti-globalist or anti-NATO, but they're a capitalist country in general. The government, at least, believes in capitalism. I'm living here right now. Moscow's extremely capitalist. Are there communists here? Yes. Are they in government? Yes, but they're not like the ruling party right now. So that can exist. You can have anti-globalists who are capitalists. And I think what people mean is anti-imperialist, because a lot of anti-imperialists are anti-capitalists, but that it's not all of them, because a lot of the I mean in reality, in theory it should be, but in reality it's not, because imperialism is in theory the highest form of capitalism. So if you're an anti-imperialist, it makes sense that you should be, but there are a lot of people who call themselves, like the libertarians, anti-imperialist, but they believe in capitalism. So I mean, like I said, I agree with some of her statements. Some of it I disagree with. You can go ahead and.
Well, some people who are anti capitalist are also globalist, and that's something that's not being mentioned here as well.
That's very true.
Globalism is just a system of control, and if you want to say it's stakeholder capitalism, I mean, I would probably bring up the definition, and that's more in line. But a capitalist can go into, as far as like the World Economic Forum, excuse me, a globalist, like people from the World Economic Forum, can go into a socialist country and use their mechanisms for control there too as well. So really, to tell you the truth, if you look at the Netherlands right now, that's a socialist country. If you look at a lot of European socialist countries, they have globalist, democratic socialism, or have
It's
social
still
entities.
capitalism.
Well, I
Socialist,
mean,
but it's still capitalist.
I mean,
It's not a socialist country. It's a yeah. It's a capitalist country. It's a social democracy. It's what Bernie was advocating in the United States, where you still have capitalism, but it's definitely more social welfare, safety.
What countries
social
are
safety.
pure social countries right now? Let's talk about them for a second. Do you know who can?
None of the countries in the West. Literally none of them.
None of them are in the West. Okay.
No. Yeah, none of them are in the West. I mean, they all have capital, and because they're all part of the EU, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but you're right that you can have a globalist who calls himself an anti-capitalist, because you have a lot of those on Twitter. Like
what countries in the global South though, fam, are socialist?
So I would say the closest country to
Cuba, right?
It would be the most socialist, I would say, is Cuba. Then I would say Venezuela, Nicaragua.
Then
probably Nicaragua over Venezuela, to be honest. And then Bolivia is movement towards socialism. They're not quite there, but that's Evo's party, right? They're honest. They're like, we're the movement towards socialism. We're not there yet. So I would say those are the closest. Everything else is like
a form of
they
have social entities or whatnot and stuff. And I don't know where people want to go with this. If they want to, the socialists in this country are advocating for pure socialism, or are they advocating more for a democratic socialism? If they're advocating more for a democratic socialism, okay, let's leave it right there. Globalists can still control that system. It doesn't make a difference. A globalist will go into any system whatsoever. This is something that Sean Stone talked about when he came on the show. They can go and try to control any system whatsoever. One of the ways they're doing it is with these ESGs, like in Holland, the Netherlands, and whatnot. They're going in there and they're saying, because of nitrogen reasons or using certain phosphates, that these small farmers, can't do certain things, therefore closing their businesses, consolidating with the big farmers and taking over. To say that globalists are just capitalists, I think that is very, very wrong. It's ignoring the fact that there is a one world governance that is trying to take hold. I mean, obviously, there's pushback from other nation states that don't want to go along with their oligarchs. Obviously, you throw China and Russia into that mix. Where do they stay? I see them definitely giving a stiff arm to the globalists. But globalism is not just capitalism on another scale. That's why I wanted to talk to the boys at RBN and Margaret Kimberly and say, no, you guys are completely wrong on this thing,
Okay,
because
so
it just sticks to their point and their principle that if we get rid of capitalism and we interject socialism, everything will be okay. No, there will always be a ruling class or people trying to be a ruling class, and they will use socialism or communism to their best benefit if they can, especially if they don't have a fair election system and they eliminate direct democracy. So I just think that's a very wrong statement at the very end for Margaret Kimberly to say that and all these other people to say that. And I'd love to have that conversation because they're
I
getting
have some
away from
pushback
what's important. Go ahead.
because I I don't believe globalism. I believe globalism is in its core a capitalist thing because you're trying to take control over everything, over the entire wealth of the people without by instilling this sort of globalist control over everybody. That's not what socialism advocates. Now they could weaponize the idea of socialism, which is exactly what they're doing, and communism, to instill this globalism. But if you look at globalism, what they're pushing for is stakeholder capitalism. They're trying to rebrand this capitalism as being a good thing. They're not pushing for workers owning the means of production. So in essence, it is a capitalist thing. However, in the United States, when there you have people who call themselves socialists that are pushing globalism, but they're not. But you could argue that they're not real socialists. You could argue that there's just a bunch of neoliberals. You have a bunch of these on Twitter that are pushing NATO, that are pushing this sort of World Economic Forum existence. You're pushing all of these things, and they're calling themselves socialists and Marxists and all these things. But are they really? Because the globalists now anyism, I agree with you. Anyism could be corrupted, but it's not like a globalist can come in there and just be like, all right, well, we're gonna own all of this, and you're gonna have nothing. And the socialist countries like, let's say Nicaragua, are just going to allow them to be like, okay, you can do that. And it's just not going to happen. Well, you can have somebody use it and weaponize it and bring it under the guise of it, but it's not going to be, because it's a completely different system. You're talking about the system of globalism is supposed to control everything and have corporations own up everything and buy everything, and you'll own nothing, and you'll like it. So I think that's different than saying that somebody's just a socialist and is just going to do the same thing. I believe any entity, any ism can be corrupted by ego, by power, because we're all human beings and we're all susceptible to corruption. Especially with more power, people become more easily corrupted. That's what we saw towards the last few decades of the Soviet Union, right? And this is why a lot of people weren't happy with Gorbachev because he basically sold out. He sold to many communists. He sold them out to the West, and of course, then there came a lot of hunger, a lot of economic depression, and all of this. And so that was a communist system. But really, was it operating under what they perceived as communism before? So you could argue that. So I'm not 100% in agreement with you, but I'm also, I also think that there's more nuance to her tweet though. Like I see what she's saying, but I also think there's more nuance to it. Like that you can technically have a person that calls themselves socialist.
Well, look at the way the ESGs are working, the environmental socialist governance. They're going in there. They're not using capital to mop up all the farms. And they're going to be doing this in Canada now. They're going to be doing this in America, right? They're not using capital coming in and saying, we're buying your land, buying you off penny with we're giving you twice as much as your thing, kicking you off, or creating another product that's better than yours. In fact, a lot of the local farmers, and Jeremy Lafredo, hopefully he'll come on the show soon and we'll talk about that. The local farmers are creating a better product. What they're doing is we're saying, in the name of environment and in the name for the environment, to save the environment, we have to socially make these rules of farming and whatnot, or for health when it comes to the COVID situation. It's using the form of a social entity to
Right.
grab control and throw people
Right.
out. It's not traditional capital. That's why
That is capitalism, Pasta. They're
no,
just trying, but they're
how is
trying
that
to
capital?
find.
Wait. How is it capitalism when I make an environmental rule that says that you can't farm a certain way because it's harmful to the environment? How is that capitalism and not more socialism?
Why are they doing it?
To cut off the food lines from the small farmers and us, the people, for their
Okay.
globalist agenda?
Okay. And why are they doing that?
Because they want to control us and they want to get rid of us.
Why
I
do they
mean,
want to get rid of us?
because we're extra mouths to feed and they're a bunch of
And they want
transhumanist
money.
predator class. Money is something they just made up. They want control. When you have that much money,
They
money
want
doesn't
control
mean
to
anything to
maintain
you.
their
Money is
lifestyle.
something you made up. It's more about control. Globalism is
It's
more about
about
control than it is
control.
about finances. You see what I'm
No,
saying?
it all comes down to being about money because
Nah.
they want control. Pasta, why do they want control over you? Why
Because
do
you know
they?
what? But these are people who make the
Because they don't want to
monetary
share the
system.
wealth. Pasta, here's why they don't want to share the wealth. They want to live their life according to their luxurious way. They want to live their life, and you are in the way of that. I'm in the way of that. Everybody else is in the way of that. This is why I'm an anti-capitalist, because at the end of the day, when you go all down to the nitty-gritty, that's what it comes down to. And you can argue with me all you want, but at the end of the day, I can still make the argument that yes, you're.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the thing. It's
you.
about control. This is where the right is fearful of this system. This is why they purposely try to make this whole World Economic Forum, you'll love nothing and you'll love it. They try to make it sound like communism, and the fucking idiots in the neo-progressive left eat it up because they don't understand where some of us who really are advocating, because they really don't want to make any choices. They want to be governed harder, daddy. That's what they want. They don't want necessarily workers owning the means of production. They just want to be fine, and they want to live in a system where they get told what to do, and that's fine. Not everybody wants that. And so this idea that it's like they're weaponizing socialism and communism to make it look like that's what it is, so the right hates it even more. And that's why I think it's important that we have these conversations, and that people don't automatically push the World Economic Forum theory as a conspiracy smoothie, or as a conspiracy theory, or as anything like that's just a right-wing talking point, because it's not. It's a reality that they're using and weaponizing this idea that that's socialism, that the World Economic Forum, that's what it is. And especially the environmental movement, fam, because I did a package, you guys will see it soon, on the controlled demolition of Europe, right? There was this article that came out in a German newspaper that basically outlined like how this one company pretty much said that if Germany goes down, that'll take down the EU and it will benefit the United States. But is it going to benefit the United States as a whole? No, it's going to benefit the defense industry. It already is, and certain elites in the United States. But it's obviously not benefiting the working class. And so it was arguing that this is probably a controlled demolition of Europe, and the United States is leading it because they want to eliminate their biggest competitor. Now, all of the money that the United States is making from their exporting of gas is actually helping the economy grow. Our gas prices have lowered. We still have inflation, but some people are making a killing on this this war with Russia via Ukraine. And so that in essence, they're using Germany, particularly Germany, because Germany is very dependent and vulnerable because they depend on a lot of cheap gas from Russia. But also, you mentioned it earlier, the environmental movement, the green movement, is, of course, being weaponized by the neoliberals and these globalists to try to use this progressive agenda of, oh, you need to be more green, and we need to reduce the gas consumption, and we need to use all this stuff. And they're stealing from the farmers, right? They're taking away from these farmers because they want to control the means of production, because they want to make all the fucking money, and they want their way of life to continue. And a little farmer that gives people eggs and food on a direct case by case basis, where it's just like organic and all this stuff, gets in the way of what they want. And that's the green movement, the climate change movement has been totally co-opted for the predator class. It absolutely 1000% has been corrupted. Like,
Yep.
So bad.
Well, I know what our next panel is going to be, fam, because I think we still have a little bit of a disagreement there and whatnot. I get you.
Sure.
I'm not advocating for capitalism. I'm not advocating for socialism. I've always advocated for a mixed system. You know how I am. However, I feel that, when it comes to elitism will, like any ism, will control any of those systems, like we both agree on. But yeah, as you say, like, fam, the reason why we're saying, about these people want to accumulate wealth, there's some point about the fact that these motherfuckers think that they're going to go colonize space. That some of these elitists, they really are like transhumanistic predator class nutso jobs, and they don't care about killing us. You know what I'm saying? So I think capitalism kind of sometimes gets us a little bit off the subject of what elitism is, and understanding that capitalism is just once again an economic system, just like communism is. But that system above it will always have people trying to get their hands in the cookie jar and steal shit for whatever reason it is, right? So,
and my argument is that if communism is advocating elitism, then it isn't communism. That's my argument.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Because then it's like the whole point of it is not to live in a place like that. Is for working people to own the means of production. So if your version of communism or socialism is still going to have a bunch of people be the best socialists that have the most money, then you're basically operating under capitalism and calling it something else. And that's my issue with most of these people, is that they're really just being disingenuous about it. Yeah. It doesn't mean you have to be poor. It's not like socialism advocates you have to be poor. It actually advocates that the wealth is distributed more fairly. And of course, there's different layers of how that wealth is distributed. I don't believe in billionaires for a reason, because I believe in order to be a billionaire, you have had to exploit so many people to get to that point. Because there's no way you're going to tell me that you worked that hard that you became a billionaire. There's just so many things in between that you had to exploit. A lot of these billionaires we know were born into wealth, and so on and so forth. So I don't believe in billionaires for that reason. And people can say, well, then you're eliminating a person's choice to be a billionaire. And I'm telling you, I believe in choice, but I believe there's a limit when you start hurting people. Because then it becomes about responsibility. If you want to live in a society, there's such a thing as responsibility. If you don't want to live in a society, go live in the woods and do whatever the hell you want. But it's just like there is, you're not going to murder a random person just because you feel like it. There's got to be some sort of rules. Like you can't just say, oh, it's my personal belief that I'm going to go around and kill people all the time, because you're going to be stopped. Somebody's going to stop you. So I believe within reason in people's personal choices.
Yeah.
These are philosophical debates now at that point.
Fam, look at this. I have to, this is why, God, this is why you wonder why we have so many friggin', oh, geez, fam, look at this tweet that just came in. And this is from our video that we're making today. This is from the thumbnail that we have for the video. Stop trying to make this a thing. This is why white males cannot lead us in revolutionary action. Their whiteness blinds them to common sense protective measures. Let this be the end of this discourse. Stop letting CIA agents and disinfected Bernie bros lead us to our own demise. Well, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, brother. It's like, yeah, dude, you just like mentioned my whiteness and all that shit, dude. And he's got a scorpion going after the frog, which we know. Yeah, that's brunch liberals.
What the fuck?
Which it's like, if you're trying to make a point saying this is stupid that MAGA and whatchamacallit can't come together, can they unite? We're here to say they can't unite. But this is the stupid thing they got to always throw in here, these virtue signaling assholes. Stop trying to make this a thing. This is why white males cannot lead us in revolutionary action. Okay, so like, really, really, okay. How about
I
people?
mean, give me a better argument than that.
It's just.
I mean, if you're against it or for it, give a better argument than that. Otherwise, it's just laughable. Didn't you have a Franco tweet up or something?
I did, and I'm gonna go back to it really quick, but I wanted to show that this is Franco's tweet right here, fam.
Okay.
Oh shit, me put it in. There we go, fam. If people are pushing communist MAGA, then it wouldn't surprise me when they use the Republican Party as a party to run for office, and when they decide that MPP grift won't work out.
Franco.
Franco.
Okay. So,
Franco.
All right. So first of all, let's go to the Republican thing, because I kind of asked you about this before we started the show, right?
Yeah.
I've seen the same group push Donald Trump for president in 2024, right? Now, you guys know me, you know me, fam. I don't oppose Trump because he's the most sexist, dangerous president in modern history, blah, 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 bullshit. I oppose Trump because I believe he hasn't done anything to make himself a true outsider of the establishment. He had 4 years to prove this to us. He didn't pardon Julian Assange. He filled his administration with a bunch of freaking spooks. And he literally, I mean, we could talk about Soleimani. We could talk about the same status quo type of foreign policy, with very little variations here and there. The positive thing about Trump, I would say, is he was the ugly face of imperialism. So you could see more exactly what was being done, and he drove the liberals crazy. And that's the shitty part, is that they were able to point to him as the boogeyman. And he's the reason, of course, too, that we get people like Biden, right? Because they focused so much on how evil he was that a bunch of morons thought that they were defeating fascism by voting for him. Now, of course, we know we don't have fair elections, but a bunch of morons thought it was okay to interfere in the elections as long as they got rid of Trump. So it's this whole thing. We wouldn't be where we are without Trump, but we wouldn't have Trump without the Bidens of the world, the architects of the system. So I don't believe that the answer is the other side of the coin. I believe we have to break that. And if you're going to advocate for Donald Trump, you haven't learned anything in the last 4 years, because this isn't coming from even an ideological sense of Trump. This is coming from, it's going to be the same shit. Like you're not understanding who's running things here.
Yeah, and this is another tweet I just had to pull up that people are kind of harping on today. When you're pushing socialism, your house on socialism, your politician's house on socialism, saying that it provides them more of an opportunity, fam. Socialism does, than capitalism, to steal the wealth. But it's like I argue with every single person who is pro-capitalism, even my libertarian friends. I'm like, show me an example of when capitalism doesn't turn to crony capitalism, and the same thing, that doesn't happen that you're accusing that's happening over there, And they always go to Venezuela. Like that's the one thing I can't stand. Some of my libertarian friends that always bring up Venezuela. I'm like, guys, have you been to Venezuela? No. Well, they're coming back. And this argument, I even had this argument with a conservative the other day. Not an argument, but they were saying, oh, well, they're blaming, those sanctions and the blockade of what happened in Venezuela, and I'm saying not taking accountability that Hugo Chavez, got rid of all the oil companies, and the Venezuelans couldn't reproduce the oil as quick as the oil companies could. And I'm like, you really think he couldn't hire in people who knew what the fuck they were doing? I mean, they took away some of the refineries because they said it was private property. It didn't belong to the Venezuelans, so they couldn't get that other oil back. It was basically taken from them. We now see Venezuela with a situation where Britain has stolen their gold and they're not going to hand it back over. How can you ignore sanctions and blockades and not think that that's going to have some effect on countries, especially when they have a stranglehold on them? I mean, this is a big thing about when I talk to MAGA people and conservative people that really just drive me crazy. They are the party of individual responsibility. That's what conservatives are all about. But yet they want to say this is the greatest country in the world. They love everything this country is about. We need to get back to what it was. How come they don't want to take any responsibility for the foreign policy, which create a lot of the conditions in which we're living in today? Which means like mass freaking arming of our police by bringing this form of socialism, or this form of militarism home with us, arming the police up to the T, blockades and sanctions that smother a country, cut that country off, forcing mass migration to the border. Why don't they ever want to they want to take all the credit and the beautiful things that they think this country has produced, but never want to take accountability for all the shit that it's caused. And that's the thing that just drives me crazy.
Right.
They try to shrug off the foreign policy woes. Yeah, but no, it's like I was arguing with the guy who was giving this whole argument. I don't know even why this guy was here to talk about illegal immigration, the cartels bringing fentanyl, and what's going on our southern border in an election integrity event. Because you'll still get people trying, once again, these are one of the falsehoods of election integrity. Illegal immigrants or undocumented workers, for all the people out there on both sides of the friggin' aisle, okay? People who don't have citizenship here, whatever, people who aren't residents here in the United States, whatever group you want to call them, whether you think they're justified to be here or not, doesn't make a difference. They do not sway an election. They do not sway an election. Most of the people we know, and Fiorella and I, we know this because we worked in the restaurant business. The people who are undocumented workers do not go and vote because they're afraid. They're hiding in the shadows because they don't want to be deported. That is the truth. So for these conservative people to act like these people are walking around, the dude even said most of the illegal immigrants come across the border with an iPhone. Why? Why are they coming here? Why are they coming here? Well, you know, they're looking for a better opportunity. Why are they looking for a better opportunity? Does it have anything to do with the United States fucking empire supporting these ruthless dictators in their country, making sure that that country is unstable for number one, they can extract the resources on pennies on the dollar, and number two, force that country to have IMF loans, essentially putting their people in austerity measures which make them debt slaves. That is why it's going on, and that's why people are coming here. Just like we heard from the people from Honduras, they felt justified coming here because Donald Trump and that regime backed that Fugazi election that even the OAS said was unfair. Nobody ever wants to look at the root cause, and that's the thing that just drives me bonkers, fam.
Yeah, and if you want less people to come into the United States, you got to look at the root cause of what the United States government is doing, because if you don't, it's going to keep happening. Stop interfering in their elections. Let them have national sovereignty and let them deal with their shit. And same thing with China. Let China deal with China. Let Russia deal with Russia. Let Nicaragua and Cuba and all these countries deal with themselves and stay out of their shit. But no, you got people like Ted Cruz. You got people like DeSantis who want to have a crusade against an ideology, which will take us back in the same place that we were in before. So they're not any different, is my point. Advocating for Donald Trump right now is going to lead you nowhere. It's going to lead you to the other side of the coin. And I understand, I'm almost sympathetic to the desperation that people have, because, you know, I get that you feel like there is no choice, that's the best we can get. It's not, because again, we don't have fair elections. 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 We don't live in a fair system. So you advocating on Team Red now because Team Blue is so goddamn awful, it's just going to lead us to Team Red and then Team Blue and then Team Red, and nothing's going to fucking get done. So anybody telling you to vote for either of these fucking parties is really literally not understanding where we're at here. I have one more thing I wanted to show, fam.
Sure. While you're pull it up in the doc, and I'll get it real quick, guys. Remember, if you get a chance, go to givesendgo.com. / the Convo Couch Brazil. We're going boots on the ground, guys. We're gonna get this done. We need your help. Anything you can do. We had some people came in and give some donations just recently today. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's put a dime in there. You guys are amazing. Same thing with the super raise. We'll get to them at the end of the show. And if you can't afford to do anything, guys, just the like, the share, the whole 9 yards. You know how we love you. Thank you so much for supporting the Combo Couch, whether it be financially, showing up, sharing, the whole 9 yards. We love our fams. Fam, what do you got?
Bam. Okay, so
Is it in the doc?
yesterday was 9/11. It's in the doc. It's the last tweet. Yesterday was 9/11, as we know, fam. 9/11 was an inside job.
Damn! Damn it, we're on YouTube, fam.
Ha ha ha! JK, Kevin, and Kyle. But really,
Shit,
and
fam.
7. They're the people on the plane were Saudi Arabians.
Fam.
What else can I say? Okay. It was the whole hashtag never forget was a propaganda scheme to get everybody to manufacture.
Look at this, fam.
For war.
Look at this.
All right.
See this right here? Do you see what I'm going around over there? They unfollowed me. They unfollowed me again. Look at this, guys. Look at it. Ready? Really quick. Oh, now it says following. But over here, it was like, you want to follow? Oh, now it says following now.
What?
You guys saw that shit. You saw
Dude,
that. You
people
saw
have
that.
been telling me
Live.
People have been telling me I have been stuck at the same number forever. Like, and it'll say so and so followed you, and it doesn't change because they keep on following people from me.
You saw
so
that, yeah.
Okay, so 9/11 was something else that happened. I have to point this out. So on 9/11 in 1973, the year FAM came into this world. You didn't come in September, but a few months later.
FAM.
Why are you getting like that? Why are you getting like that?
Because you're telling everybody my old age and you're laughing at it. The fact I'm going to be 50 at next April. I should cut your ass off right now.
Before.
FAM.
Anyway.
All right. You were making fun and laughing at it.
I was laughing at your reaction, not.
Yeah.
Okay. I was.
Sure. You weren't having any fun. I got it.
Oh my God. Okay. So I said fascist, and I don't say that word lightly. Augusto Pinochet led a CIA/US/British, because the Queen was on everybody's mind, right? British-backed military coup to overthrow democratically elected leader Salvador Allende. He was a socialist, right? He was elected by the people in Chile. Pinochet then, of course, went on to murder thousands of political opponents and ushered in a dictatorship, a real dictator. I mean, this is facts. I mean, this is as factual as Hitler, like, existing. Like, this is real. He was an actual dictator. And of course, the consequences of that still plague Chile today. And what one of my good friends, Stefan Sefton, sent me today, which I should have put it in the doc, was the government of Gabriel Boric is actually the people were protesting, right? They were in remembrance of what happened in 1973. And apparently they were being attacked, these protesters. So I don't know what's going on, but apparently not much has changed in terms of the government. Like what Whitney Webb called him, a glorified AOC. So where we were like, well, is he that bad? So, okay, so I just wanted to point that out, fam. And if you scroll to the next, if you just scroll down a little bit to the next comment, there's a declassified.org article if you want to click on that. So there's these files that came out a couple years ago that showed that Britain conducted a covert propaganda offensive to stop Salvador Allende from winning 2 Democratic presidential elections and helped prepare the ground for General Augusto Pinochet's military regime. And I posted this, of course, because a lot of people were giving the Queen props, right? They were so excited about the Queen and all this other bullshit, and they were whitewashing what the Queen did and stuff, and how she was just an innocent bystander and she had nothing to do with anything. Well, the UK, of course, was involved in this whole thing. This was the CIA, US-backed, UK-backed organization, and they, of course, interfered. And since Pasta had mentioned imperialism and had mentioned the, what was going on in terms of Latin America and people coming into the US, I had to pull this up because this is yet again another US-backed, UK-backed coup. And Chile is still suffering that today. Chile, like Peru, really has a lot of fear of the left, like the socialist tendencies, the communist tendencies. And it's unfortunate because, they ignore a lot of the interventionism that's happened from the West. And so that's why these countries that are right next to each other have such a hard time really understanding their history. And I get into these arguments, of course, with my own family members because they equate communism with terrorism. And it's very hard to change their mind. They probably hate it more than MAGA or as much. I'm not even joking when I say that. They despise anything remotely related to communism and socialism. I mean, it's even if you go right now and you say that you're some sort of socialist in Peru, it's just not looked on as a positive thing. Like it's just like that. So circling back to the idea that these two are going to come together based on some sort of ideological unity it's just not going to happen. That was my whole point in that. It's just you have to understand these people just have this fear of it. It's just a misunderstanding, of course, fear and all. It's just you can only come together with people based on an issue or an economic need. Like we need to get bread, or we need to get energy, or we need to oppose NATO. That's how you can make people come together. But in terms of like aligning these ideologies and merging them together, I just don't see how that's gonna happen.
Fam, how about some super rays? You ready for that?
Super rays, yes.
Okay, I gotta learn how to get these. I'm gonna learn how to. Another thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna learn how to get these up on the screen. Let me see if I can do it real quick. Maybe I could. So if I go to comments, okay. No, fam, I can do it from YouTube, but I can't just do it from. That sucks. See, like I can do this. Like, hey, Cam Schwari, Kate, the combo couch. I think that a bunch of streams started, but there is one going where you can see. We can see you. All right, so we got it fixed. But why? See, I don't know why they're not here. It's so weird.
I don't know what the hell happened today because it's been fine, but.
Audit Press National Auditors Convention says Fee and Pasta the best team I've been watching for years. Saul Construct, hello fams. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, fams.
Fee has a beautiful necklace.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
you.
Hey, that color blue works for you, Pasta. There you go. How about you? Yeah, we'll get rid of that one. The Combo Couch Brazil. You go to givesendgo.com, guys. Do us that favor on the rock fins over here. Messi Molano. Fam, Messi Molano Urbani says, Santani to Pasta, Santani to Fiorella, Santani to the couch. That's Tim Osmond. Thank you so much, by the way. Massi Milano. Tim Osmond says, Pasta, you know the good flight school? You know any good flight schools in Florida? Fam, it's 9/11 yesterday. You gotta get Tim, you and Fee getting me in trouble over here. Stop it, okay, guys? Chris Leone, I love you guys. Your work, you guys are legit. When I listen to you guys, I know that you are sincere about what you talk about and that you legitimately want to reach out to people without compromising your leftist values. But keep in mind, the guy who sent that tweet, wannabe Ryan Seacrest Region 4, is a grifter. Remember, he's stolen work from Nico House and slandered Glory Jones on Slow News Day. Fam, do you want to take a crack at that first? You want me to say something?
Do you want to say something?
Let me say something. Okay, listen. I'm not a bad judge of character. I am not. I just don't fault anybody for their flaws in their character. I do tend to look at people for the positive, not the negative. There are some people I do think that are definitely out there that are fucking ops or paid, not mentioning any names, Kyle Kalinske, to speak this fucking crap fucking shit. Like, no, I TYT, Jordan Sheridan, I believe all these people have been tainted and been bought off, or whatever the case may be. It's obvious the way they say things. Jackson, that you called the wannabe Seacrest, I have no ill will towards him. Has he made decisions that I do not like, especially when it comes to Nico House? Of course, that was one of the decisions, and the way he handled the situation I don't like. Do I like some of the stories he broke and some of the things he talked about? Conspiracy smoothie, of course. I'm not crazy about it. I wasn't crazy when he said Sai was a brutal dictator. But I haven't spoken out because I always believe I let the person have a chance to get better, develop, and whatnot. And also, too, as well, I am a big believer that sometimes it's not what's said, fam, it's how you say it. And I will see a lot of people who will come out there and they will plain and simple say, well, I said this before. I've been talking about this for a while. Why does that person get to be the gatekeeper, whatnot, and stuff? Yes, it is true. There are people behind the scenes pushing other people up, boosting their algorithm, not mentioning any names, Vosh. and it's obvious that people are just, someone from behind the scenes controlling the thing is lifting them up. But then there are people out there, and I'll use Jimmy Dore as an example because a lot of people like to hate on Jimmy Dore and can't understand why the guy has so many people following him and everything like that. It's because sometimes the way you communicate is just as important as the way is what you're saying. So I think it's a two-headed monster. So yeah, I don't like a lot of the stories that the kid has talked about. I think he's made some bad moves. I obviously didn't like this last one, and I thought it was very irresponsible in a way to kind of put this out there because I believe that it was a tool that will be used to divide us. Um, but at the same time, I'm not going to, just hate on a person for getting a lot of clicks and a lot of people following him if he is doing something, even if he is just repeating other people's work that other people put out there. Because at the end of the day, sometimes it's the message I think that is more important to get out than actually who's getting out that message. A lot of things I don't like, a lot of things I do like. A lot of the stuff that he was reporting on Russia and Ukraine, even though it came from somebody else, maybe he didn't go get that information. He put it out there in a way where a lot of people grasped it, a lot of people liked it. There are friends of mine from behind the scenes who told me, "Yeah, man, I like this guy Jackson. I think the way he's got a good show. He's very thorough. He's getting good guests. He's getting it out there." So I tend to not hate. I tend to debate because I think that's better. So even though there are those faults, like I said, the big thing for me was the Nico thing. Like I did not like that at all. I thought that was a very uncool way to handle things. With the Jack Posobiec thing, and I thought that was very uncool. But once again, just giving a person an opportunity to grow and get things right, I think is where I stand. So I am not in ill will towards the kid. I just in disagreement when it comes to this situation. I thought that something had to be said.
I don't think anybody has ill will. But I do have to point out that the Jack Posobiec thing was hilarious because, that was mentioned against Nico, and now there's a lot of appeal from him towards Republicans. People like, what's his name? Tate? That Tate
Andrew
guy?
Tate. Yeah, Andrew Tate.
Yeah, who I would say is exactly in the same ideology, and others is in the same ideology. So, my issue is I believe in redemption. I believe in genuine change of character. Like if you had a belief and you change your mind based on the information you got genuinely, and you were like, hey, I was wrong about this, I take it, I accept it, I think it's great. If I see that you change your belief depending on when it's most popular or when the wind blows, that's when I have an issue. And that's something I've been noticing lately. And it's something that lends a lot of distrust in me. Also, just personally, me as a person, I like to get my information from people who go on the ground, from people who really do the work to be on the ground. And especially in the Donbass, I'm looking to go to the Donbass as soon as I come back from Brazil, as soon as I can get, because I would have to do it when I'm not working. So I have to take time off to do that. So I really want to go. I want to go to these places. We go to where we report on as much as possible. And it's not what we get the most views on. It's not what it's not like we get invites on to, every other show in the world when we go to these places. It's not like people care as much about the on the ground coverage. We could literally just never go anywhere and we would make more money. When we're taking time to go to Brazil and doing all this stuff, that's a lot of those videos don't get the most views. A lot of those videos are just for the information. So if you're a comedian like Jimmy, I don't expect you to go on the ground and do all this stuff because he's a comedian. He's never said he's going to go anywhere. But if you consider yourself a journalist, if you consider yourself an authority on speaking out about things, I really do advocate for everybody who does that to really try to get on the ground as much as possible. And it really surprises me that people consider it brave for people to do that. There's nothing brave, in my opinion, of actually being a journalist and going on the ground and talking to the people you're talking about and going to the places you're talking about, because I believe that's real journalism. And so that is my issue when somebody is looked on as an authority when they haven't done that. And I think that's just the reality we're in, is that there's a lot of people like to create personalities and like to worship people and like to put people on a pedestal, and this cult of personality situation that's happening is I just don't think it's for the right reasons. And I think Pasta is a nice guy, and I think Pasta is really does see the good in people. But I do think like there's a difference between acknowledging like what somebody's done well and somebody and the genuine nature of what they're doing, and also acknowledging when it's wrong, when it has to be said. And I think, you bringing this up, I thought it was a good tweet, or a good tweet that you made. I was surprised that you made it based on the fact that you're very diplomatic in that aspect. And
yeah. I mean, I thought about calling him, fam. I was like, maybe I should reach out and stuff. Maybe I should say something. And I was like, you know what? No, because this has to be said in the public domain, because what was put out there, I think, was theoretically wrong, and it was leading people in a wrong direction. Like I've said in the beginning of the show, I'll say it again. Labels will be used to divide. Only the issues will bring us together. And I thought that was really important, especially fam, since I just spent the whole Saturday all day listening to MAGA people blame socialism and communism for the reason why we're in the situation we're in. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
it doesn't make any sense because we live in a capitalist country. So I don't understand.
I say that all the time too as well. Well, Biden's a socialist. No, he is not. But yeah, I mean, and let me say something else too as well. Like, not just this comment, which I think was just so off kinder and stuff, a little bit hilarious, in the Nico situation where it's like, okay, with Jack Posobiec, which, come on now, it's like, dude, and that was like a point where I was like genuinely mad. Like, well, that's bullshit. And I wasn't genuinely mad. I was happy for him to get on Tucker. But it's also a little funny the fact that he's going on there talking about Soros and the Great Reset when he, has done the story Conspiracy Smoothie. That really, to tell you the truth, once again, when that happened, I said, well, let's give him a chance to get it right. I think he'll come around. He just got it wrong. People were infuriated with that. They were pissed. Like, people call me throwing things against the wall. How dare he say that shit? This is our work. He's agreeing with no, you know what I'm saying? So this whole going on Tucker for, the Great Reset and George Soros thing, and Soros is more of a buzzword. When you're talking about the Great Reset and all this other situation, you know what I'm saying? George Soros is a sidebar of the whole situation. Not to say that George Soros isn't involved with, nation building or whatever, or ushering in a, transhumanistic WEF kind of world, but they're just way bigger players involved. It's just that when you go on Tucker and you got a strong conservative audience and they hear the words George Soros, it's a buzzword. It's a buzzword. Yeah. So I even thought that was a little funny, the fact too. Let's hear it. Yeah, but let's be honest too, dude. Jackson has said openly too as well. Like whenever he talks about this, he's like, Pasta and Feed, the Convo Couch, they got this right from the get-go. They're one of the leftists that we know that were out of the gate on top of this shit from the get-go. So I mean, like I said, no ill will towards the kid. Just wanted to throw that out there because I knew this would be a buzz conversation and talking about it, and it is what it is. So, And
I would gladly debate, anybody on this. And again, I don't agree with Ben Norton either. I don't agree that everybody that's advocating to talk to MAGA are fascists and that there's absolutely no reason to talk to them and you must oppose them. Then pretty much you're going to oppose every other person in the world, because nobody's going to. Is in the United States, there's a small sector of the population that agree with Ben, right? It's so tiny. And of course, living in Nicaragua, you have a completely different existence than what people in the US have. And so it's just a completely different thing. And I just think like the back and forth is not helping anybody. Like we should be all united. Like
it's one thing about getting it wrong, fam, right? With Jackson gets it wrong, okay, in this situation, but fucking, Ben Norton has just been so divisive. Like it's just been like, whoa, dude, like, and such a strong ideologue. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's no, man. And if you're not with us, what is different from him, what he says and George Bush W says? You're either with us or with the terrorists. You're either a socialist or you're a Nazi white supremacist piece of crap. I mean, he doesn't say that directly, but that's pretty much his ideology. The truckers, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think like but they just feed off of each other. The back and forth just feeds off of each other. I just don't think it's beneficial. I think there's just ego in it, and there's no benefit at all being discussed. This is why we need to have these conversations, and this is why I like I said, I would like a panel. This is why I want to do a panel on this, on the like I said, the communist panel or whatever, the anarchist, communist, libertarian panel. I want to hear, kind of like we did the China panel, these different points of views as to what people, even a panel of people who all call themselves communists and how different they are, because this is just completely different, right? There's just, and people who call themselves anarchists and all of that, because there's a lot of anarchists on Twitter that I'm sure Steve wouldn't agree with. The anarcho-vitanists and all that bullshit. Like,
yeah. Somebody asked me the other day, like, your partner, is she a communist? Oh, she's an anarcho-communist. What? Oh, that don't make no sense. Yes, it does. It makes a lot of sense. That don't make sense. Yes, it does.
Did they say it in that accent? Because that's hilarious.
Yeah. With a "Make America Great Again," you know what I'm saying? I had those cards, and on the back of my cards had all the shows. And I was going around talking to people. I was on like at 3:00, fam, and we started at 9:00 in the morning. So and we had a lunch there, right? It was like they brought box lunches and they got us our vegan lunches and whatnot. And big ups and big love to everybody out there who came and showed and supported me from Florida. Victor Nieto showed up. I love you, Victor. You'd seen a picture or two for Victor, fam. He's had such great work down in Miami. Love you, Victor. Diana, Donna, you ladies are amazing. Thank you for showing me up. Ellen Canali showed up. Thank you to Tim Canova who got me on. It was an amazing experience. And once again, like, there are so many things I would disagree with in that room with those people. I mean, it was totally different. I even told them I don't feel there should be drop boxes out there, and I'm a based leftist. I look at them, and they're like, really? Yeah. These guys want to put cameras on drop boxes. They're high. You got to eliminate them. You get rid of those drop boxes. They don't have them anywhere. Anyways, let me read a couple super rays.
Based leftist, fam. Clint Russell. Clint Russell.
I like common sense leftist, but I said based leftist, and you hear some guy going, "Honey, what's based? I don't understand these goddamn kids." Oh, this guy came up from Stewart over here. Ronnie Graham, thank you for the super red contribution. I love Fee and Pasta and the Combo Couch. It's the best vlog in the English language these days. Thank you so much, Ronnie Graham. You're amazing. The Rebel Otaku. Otaku. Otaku, right? Otaku? Or Otaku?
Sam, your guess is
Otaku? Sam, you're the entire Western left. All right, here. The entire Western left has been infiltrated by global homo Fabianism.
Jesus
Pasta
Christ.
is such a foreign policy, Karen. Stop it. Take care of your house. Make your own bed. Help your local. We can't save the world, fam. Rebel, it's our fucking military going over there. Yeah. Take some accountability for your government. Fucking goddamn anarchist.
Yep. That's an anarchist?
Well,
I thought the anarchists cared about
your own house, make your own bed, do your own thing, help your local. I don't know. Fuck.
That's see, guys, you guys confuse me so much, you anarchists. Like
Steve would be, I don't think he's an anarchist, but Steve would be screaming at me right now. No, Pasta, stop. He'd be screaming at me like, no, I know, but I don't know what that person is, but
it's Pasta.
We're not making the decisions. We are obviously not in the room with them. But if you don't want to think that we manufacture consent by turning a blind eye, then you're completely wrong. When we have enough bodies in the streets to get out there and say enough is enough, friggin' stop it, that's when this stops. They're not going to stop on their own. It's up to us to stop them. And let's be honest, there's a lot of conservatives who don't give a damn because they have their luxuries here at home, so they don't give a damn what happens out there, and they choose to ignore it.
Yep. Say it.
Kristen Nye, lots of MAGA were burners. Personal.
Yeah.
We should stop voting for leaders. I like anarchy. Thanks for the stream. I like anarchy too.
Anarchy in the evening.
Anarchy in the afternoon, anarchy at supper time. If you give me some anarchy, will you always be mine?
Jesus Christ.
I know, fam. I'm sorry.
Work on your poetry.
Jackson Hinkle joined that goddamn stream. All right, that's it. I'm going to fucking bother. I'm going to bother Nick until he gives me a link to jump in there. That's it. I'm going to yell at people, fam. Anyways, fam, anything else we got?
No.
Yeah, It's been a long stream. It's got 163 watching right now. We got about 85 overall. Hey, we had a nice, decent crowd on Rumble too, as well. So yeah.
Notice why won't he join this one?
Did we invite him?
He's always welcome to join the stream.
I know he's always welcome to join us. What I'm saying, like I said, the only beef I have with Jackson is how he treated Nico. That's why when Nico made the tweet, I understand that. And like I said before, fam, I'm one of those people who believe that you do need to clean your own house. Sometimes when people are saying the same thing as you, but they're getting a lot more people, yeah, it could be an algorithm and somebody pushing buttons on the other side because they might not touch what you touch, or you're very, very dangerous and whatnot. And the combo couch is dangerous to the elites. We talk about elections. Nobody does what we do. We don't go and see other elections and go, hello, guys, this is the biggest scam in the world that we can't have an election in one day with heavy public participation, no drop boxes, limited absentee mailouts, with public county, efficient, and get the results in one day. When we go and we witness this and we tell them that is the one thing they do not want. As long as they keep this election system clouded and muddied and have ways to cheat it, they're going to cheat it. So anybody bringing that to discussion to the table is gone, is 86, especially based leftist. That's
and
why.
Let's not forget, guys, that a lot of people still to this very moment don't talk about elections like we do because they're afraid of the backlash, and they have been afraid of the backlash, just like they were afraid of the COVID stuff. And so what really irritates me is that, there's a lot of things that we talked about that other people like Jackson talked about later when it was safe to be talked about. And I just think, if you're going to be an authority figure to talk about, the Great Reset, you got to do more than plug in a string of words that sound good. But, bring on Whitney Webb, bring on people that can talk about the deeper elements of the Great Reset. And for example, if you're interviewing somebody on Don Bass, bring people on like Eva Bartlett, bring that have been to the ground. It is not enough for somebody to sit on their home computer just talking about stuff, and saying the right words. I don't respect that as much as I respect or at all compared to what other people do who go on the ground. And that's the thing. You want to talk about Colombia's elections? Go to fucking Colombia. Go to or find a way to interview people who go on Colombia, to go to these places. But there are people that I know for a fact, I'm not going to mention their names, that refuse to have me on their show because of my stance on the vaccine mandate.
Can I mention their name?
No, right. But I'm just gonna say that's bullshit. And you know what? And in that is that sort of dumb thing that I think is just it's so low. And this person has been asked multiple times to get me on their show when I was on the ground in Peru. Did not do it. Went around and covered it themselves without even mentioning, and like I said, when we do these things, it's not like we get phone calls like, hey, come on our show, blah, 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 except for the usual suspects that always have us on their show, right? The RPNs, the Misties, the Francos, those people, the what is it? We were on Fault Lines once a couple times before. I don't know if Jamaro likes us anymore because of the COVID. But like, you know,
And January 6th, because we just said what a fool he was. We're talking about January 6th, which was 6 blocks down the way from his house. Didn't even show up, and then wants to act like this was like, an insurrection. And I think we mentioned some stuff about that. Like I mentioned to anybody, and I got the chance to tell those people in the room the other day that you mustn't forget what January 6th is. They don't want people talking about elections. It was the Stop the Steal rally. People showed up to have some form of integrity in their elections. They didn't buy the results of the elections, and they had been learning about how the system takes place and everything involved within the system. That is why they showed up. If they wanted to take over the Capitol, if they wanted to sit there and force the government's hand, they had plenty of people to do it. People got to understand 0.0001% of people that were there went into that Capitol. That's how many people were there. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. There was so many. Remember, I told you, fam, I said, and you're like, nah. I'm like, fam, watch out. And it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
so to think for 1 second that was an insurrection was ridiculous. Save effect there. Should I send Jackson a link?
No, I mean, at this point, we're almost done, right?
Yeah, we're done. I should have done that. I didn't, my bad. If he wants to come and talk about it, we can come talk about it. That, what I'm saying. I don't think the combo couch is ever really taking a serious punch or stab at the kid. I really don't feel that way. We've been indifferent at times and we've talked about it, and that's that. However, there's people within our crew. I think that he could have handled situations a better way. And, he can always make things better. And I was always hoping he could make things better. But, that is what it is. And we can only do so much. And, we just wanted to have this conversation because once again, and this is something that we've been doing for quite some time as these Bernie Sanders leftists or base leftists or common sense leftists.
Do not attack Bernie's name anymore.
What?
We've long left Bernie's name.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever the case may be, we've always talked to conservatives.
Yeah.
We've always talked to MAGA. We've always done that. We went in, and I remember when we went into that first rally, that first time, me, you, and your brother, and they were like, "Oh, that's Fiorello, Isabel. She's a hardcore leftist over there. She's a Black Lives Matter person, and oh, that's his team over there. Look at that. I got Johnny over there. They'll probably they cover all the Black Lives Matter rallies over there." We went in there like, "Hey, man, we are who we are. We'd like to have some conversation with you." We had a conversation. We had an interview. I forgot the lady's name from Britain who was very popular and the big.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we
did like you?
Who?
There was a lady that wanted to date Pasta.
Fam, she didn't want to date me. She took off my mask and wanted to kiss me. She was a famous Brit person. And Gloria recognized her right away. But the thing was, what happened when we were done? And we were like, well, what about racism? What about the disparity of people being held in prison, being black to white? The same amount of people, black and white, are in prison, yet white people make up 55% of the population, and black people make up just over 15%. How is that not racism? Whatever they said, we talk about it. We talked about this. We talked about that. And when we were done, everybody applauded around us. Everybody applauded because they knew it was people who had differences of opinion, who didn't play into cancel culture from the get-go. Never did, never will. Our neighbors are not our fucking enemies, man.
By the way, fam, we have to watch the Hunter Biden movie together so I can get with the... I just did the package on it. If you haven't seen it, go look at it. But I haven't seen the whole thing at all. But
I avoided bringing that to the convo couch, so we didn't talk about it. And here you are in full display. The crowdfunded movie. It's just blah, 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 blah.
It was by actually produced by Breitbart.
I know it was produced, fam.
And
all the so Breitbarty people wouldn't shut up about it.
It's hilarious because here's the commie writing a piece on the Hunter, my son Hunter, for RT, and I'm just like,
I'm gonna share your bit on my Getter.
Am I really doing this? Am I really? But you know what I really like about that is that it pisses off the shitlibs. The shitlibs are all mad. They're having a brain aneurysm because of that movie. It's freaking hilarious watching it. But the movie basically ends with an alternate reality where Trump wins the election. Yeah. So.
All right. Fam, that's it. One last thing of the day. You can see it right down there. GiveSendGo.com/the Combo Couch Brazil. Come on, boys and girls. We need your help. Go ahead and share that link. Get it out there. Whatever you can give, $2, $3, $4, $5, $100, whatever you can give, it helps. Brazil is going to be very expensive, but with your help, we will get on the ground and we will report back to you, our audience who loves us and has supported us this whole time. We can't do this without you. So yeah, fam, anything else?
No, fam. That's it. What are you doing tomorrow? You have an election show, right? Or
I'm supposed to have an election show. Gonna hit up with Addy Ads, make sure we get going. Billy Pounds was supposed to come on and talk about Arizona elections, what's going to be taking place over there. Fam, I think that me and Addy Ads are going to probably go to Arizona for the election because I think it's going to be ground zero. They are still fighting in certain places. And this is what I mean, right? Okay, you got a MAGA guy running for Secretary of State. You have a MAGA guy running for Secretary of State in Arizona, one in Vegas. Guess the only two places that have gotten a little bit of leeway that where they'll have a possibility of having public counting.
Arizona.
Arizona and Vegas. So you're gonna tell me that the MAGA is the worst when they're fighting for transparency. We're like, oh look, we're gonna do public counting. They had the temporary injunctions to remove the machines. Now, will it happen? I doubt, because the lobby is very, very strong, and the government is the current governments that are there right now are pushing against it, but it's brought into the forefront, the light. And people like Carrie Lake are talking about it and whatnot. So it's just one of those situations. We're going to probably be there for election day. So we will have an election show tomorrow after the morning show, fam. And in the morning show tomorrow, we have T-Lab Tuesday. Ryan Christian will be there. We have a couple guests as well. Mr. Grove, Richard Grove, I believe, is coming in tomorrow. That will be cool. But we also are going to be following the morning show. I will be on Jason Burmas talking about this very subject, fam. If you have the time to join us and you want to jump on in with us, please do so.
It depends. Yeah, it depends on when I get done with my meeting that I have. And also after that, I'm busy tomorrow. I'm going to be on Indie Left, Independent News Left. He's been asking me to come on since before I left Russia. So.
Which show? I haven't gotten an invitation. I'm calling that son of a bitch right now.
You have not been on Indie Left? Indie, what the hell is wrong with you? What the hell? Pasta's gonna he's so upset right now. He's gonna cry. Have you not been on it? Really?
A long time ago and stuff. Remember that show? Indie Left. When Ron Placone was doing that beautiful song back in the days. I was there when he was doing that song. That was great.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He did the song Indie Left. It was a while ago. Indie Left's been rocking it for a while. Been doing some good stuff. Big ups to Tara Reid, who had us on the show, fam. I think that I won the overall winner of the Tara Reid performances on the combo couch from the combo couch. I think I won. I think I did. I after checking tape, I think I won. I really do. Fam, I really think I won. But you know what?
New York Pizza won.
You can't win. Oh, Moscow Pizza came in second. Chicago Pizza came in third. Kit Cabello, we love you and stuff.
Sorry, Kit, but it's casserole doesn't really come anywhere near the top. Yeah.
Anyways, guys, that's it for today. We're getting on out of here. Remember, go to GiveSendGo.com /the Combo Couch Brazil. We can use every bit and any bit of help that you can give. We want to get on the ground and do this over here. And it really does suck, fam, because if we were conservatives, if we were MAGA, right, where we are on the election point of view, we would be like a couple 100,000 followers on Rumble. We have our getters up the yin yang, right? But we're common sense based leftist talking about an issue that is boring to a lot of people and is also taboo, because if you talk about elections, naughty, you're an election denier.
Mm-hmm. You're an election. She's still peddling elections aren't fake. That moron took our picture when we were on RBN, the giraffe, and was like, "Oh, these fake leftists are talking about the election being fake. It's so sad that you still think our elections are valid, you dumbass. It's so sad.
They're the biggest joke I've ever seen in my whole life. You know? And I'm not gonna mention any names, fam, but there's certain podcasters or independent media persons, they'll jump on other people's show to defend their point of view. A lot of those same people that didn't believe in the election bullshit didn't want to come on my show to talk about me with it. So, they're selective there as well. Not mentioning any names. Since we're not mentioning any names, I'm not going to mention that name.
But I will say they have a show together. Oh!
Bam! Shut up. That's it. We're out. Zip it.
They have a show together. The people they have a show. That's all I'm saying. Figure it out from that. Then our audience is smart. They can probably figure it out. They have a show together.
Guys, we love you out there. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, Hugo. Hugo's laughing over there. Hugo, you see what a troublemaker she is, right? Right? Hugo? Miguel H, thank you so much.
Putin says hello, everybody. Putin sends his regards.
Is that what he's sending? Putin?
Vladimir.
You're going to get us in so much trouble. We love you guys. Thank you so much for Pasta Giardiola.
Fiorella, Vladdy Daddy.
And me on those ones and twos.
That's vidania.
That means combo out.
That means goodbye.
Fam, I'm trying to do something. Hold on.
I'm teaching them Russian.
Fam, I keep the piece up. Here we go.
That's vidania. Пока-пока.